I'm Scott Vanderplu, and this is the AE Index Podcast, episode 116.
I went down to the St. James Infirmary, found my baby there, stretched out on a long white table, so sweet, so cold, so fast.
Thank you for joining me once more as we take the typed, published, posted word at aeindex.org and bring it to this podcast with anecdotes and other useless minutiae regarding the world of AE format books. All right, lots of solicitations, notifications, alerts this month. And when I say this month, I mean all the activity that occurred in July of 2026 on the website. It is August 1st today. I always record the first of the month if I can. Sometimes it's the second, unfortunately. I did do a review this month, but that's going to be covered. I did a review today, but that will be covered in the August overview, which will be in 1 month's time. All right, let's get into, do I have a focus for this episode? Not really, no. It's all about announcements and solicitations. But before we do that, on July 3rd, I posted a deal alert, which has not happened in a while. And this was for Le Strumpfissime Dupuis Artiste Edition. And it was on deep discount from Amazon Germany. Normally this was, I've already forgotten. I'm going to check my review and see. I think this was 229 euros. That's what I paid. Ouch. And it was on sale for 102 euros. And then the deal sort of ended about July 4th, maybe July 5th. Suddenly the price was up again to 200 and something. And then a few days later, all the way to July 24th, I checked and it was at 144 euros. And now today it's at 214 euros, which is normally the price for North American shipping. So this book seems to bounce up and down. Actually, most of these Artiste Editions from Amazon, especially Amazon Germany, seem to go up and down in price if they've been out for a while. So if you want to catch a deal, you've got to watch these. Maybe use Camel from Amazon Germany and catch a deal for yourself. All right, solicitations. It was interesting to see. Let's get right into that. And first one was from Penguin Random House. It hit July as well. And this was for the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez's DC Classics Artist Edition. When I first discussed this solicitation in the previous month, in June, it was through Lunar, and I thought it would not be available through bookstores. I thought it was going to be just comic shops, which would be interesting. I mean, this, it's a unique product anyways. This is a book we talked about last month that Scott Dunbier is doing for DC. So he's got the scans, he's putting the book together, he's using his designer and putting the book, but DC is publishing it. And now it turns out that this book will be direct distributed through Penguin Random House, so to any bookseller. So Amazon's got this. I've already got the link up on my post here through Amazon if that's how you prefer to get your books. I find with things like artist editions, anything that comes in its own case, Amazon ships just fine. I mean, like I said, I order these Dupuis Artiste Editions from Europe generally, Amazon generally, they're all from Europe. And sometimes they're in their own box, sometimes they're in another box, sometimes they're extra packaged, but they get to me just fine because they're distributed in a shipping box, right? Like most artist editions. So that's nice. I feel like Amazon is a safe bet for that kind of thing. And especially because if you're in the same country, your return policy is super easy. Just, damage on one another. So can't really go wrong in that sense. So this is, we talked about this book before. I'm not going to go back into it again, but it's going to be great that it is available not only through Lunar, which also through Penguin Random House. All right. And then, interestingly, we had Dupuis put up their September 2026 solicitations. And we got a new Artiste Edition. And then it's Buck Danny, Ciel de Corée, Plus Avion Sans Pilote, Artist Edition. This is Buck Danny's, a creation of legendary duo Charlier and Hubulon. For the first time, the original pages of the iconic Korean diptych are reproduced in facsimile in their original format. This volume brings together all 92 pages and the covers of the landmark diptych, that sees Buck Danny plunge into the hell of the Korean War. At the time, Buck Danny was immediately translated into Dutch for Robidoux. The translation was pasted over the French text. This explains why the original pages have Dutch lettering. This Artiste Edition respects the condition in which Victor Hubulon received his originals. So we're going to get a French artist edition with Dutch on it. So interesting. This is being released September 18th by Dupuis. It is, I'll give you just the American dimensions there. It's 18 inches by 24 inches. So this is, just like the last Buck Danny, it is the biggest artist edition or AE format book I have. I put a picture up on the forum comparing this to a bunch of other books, and it was, it's got the biggest dimensions. It's 112 pages, which is exciting. 275 euros though. It hurts. I've already pre-ordered this time around. I'm trying through FNAC. Their shipping was significantly cheaper, except they use DHL. So when that comes into Canada, there's a higher handling fee. When I was getting it through Amazon, I was just, the Amazon customs, whatever handling was ahead of doing it that way. And it was actually not too bad. But I thought I'd try it this way because I've been having some problems with Amazon. Amazon France, for some reason, my US credit card, it doesn't accept it anymore. So I have to order it through Amazon Germany. Then I've had some problems with that. So I just thought, FNAC, I've ordered some other things. I ordered some Une Vie en Dessin books, and they've arrived beautifully. So I thought I'll give it a try for an artist edition. All right, that looks amazing. I love the design. I love the whole template that they use. As I've said before, when I make my artist edition, who knows? I'm basically stealing Dupuis' format and design, and that's exactly what I want. All right. Then we had another interesting one. We got July 2026 crowdfunding, and Bob Chapman reached out to me and gave me a heads up on this, and I was waiting for it to go live before I posted about it. And that is Batman The Dark Knight Returns commemorative 40th anniversary gallery edition and enhancement packet. So this is available through Zoop. And I will just give you there's a lot of text. I'm just going to give you the straight goods here. You're getting the Batman The Dark Knight Returns gallery edition from Graffiti, the variant cover, which is basically using the issue 1 cover. Published all that long ago in 2016. Right? Sealed, brand new, old stock that Graffiti had. And then accompanying that are 2 prints, full original art size. It's issue 1, page 26, Batman doing the leap into the city. And then the cover of issue 2. So we get a color, then we get a pencil and inked. And that also comes with a certificate, which is interesting. And it all comes together. So this is pretty amazing, I got to say. Just for a couple of facts, when this book was released, it was $175 US. So 10 years ago, it was $175. Now you can get it for $150. Great discount. And you're getting 2 prints. It's coming through Zoop. So actually the Zoop shipping internationally is pretty reasonable. I find they're much more reasonable than, say, much better than eBay global shipping, and much better than Kickstarter and whatever companies, various Kickstarters are using backer kit. I find it's not great deals. Interesting as well, there are other books being offered as part of this campaign. They're offering Ronin Gallery Edition, the signed and numbered one, which is amazing. They're offering the regular cover of Batman The Dark Knight Returns. Then there's some other things. Daredevil Visionaries, volumes 1, 2, 3. So currently, there's 19 days left in this campaign. And there's only 500 of these available. They're already got 157 supporters. So that's amazing. I got to say. I also appreciate the campaign because they have videos up of my flip through. So far it has not added a bunch of extra hits to those videos. So I was a bit disappointed with that. But anyway, as I said, Bob Chapman gave me the heads up on this, so I had a chance to ask him a question. And of course, I really just had one pertinent question. And my question was, were no other pages available to add to the collection, or did you want to focus on these two? And Bob replied, though I have gathered a handful of scans that are not in the original publication, because I don't know if you remember, I think it's 50 pages that were not. Yeah, 50 pages were missing from the original publication. Offering just 2 strong pages made the most sense and made it more realistic for DC to approve my use and publication of these pieces, right? Because his license with DC has expired, so he's gone back, got permission for this. So we're going to see a book that is, long been out and not available, at a discount with 2 additional prints. I think this is pretty great, especially if you do not have this. And while you're getting it, you might as well get the Ronin signed and numbered gallery edition, right? Beautiful slipcase. We've talked about that. There's a post about it on the site. We talked about it in the podcast. So moving on. These are some new catalogs went up at the end of last month. Lunar. So we've previously discussed these, but now they're solicited through Lunar as well. First one, Beta Ray Bill by Daniel Warren Johnson, Artist Edition. We've talked about this again. Like I said, we talked about this last month. I don't need to go into it again. 2 covers. This is the first time a solicitation has been made for an Act 4 Publishing Artist Edition through Image that does not have the direct market cover image available. Apparently that's still being approved by Marvel, so they couldn't include that in the catalog. But just be aware that there is a direct market exclusive cover, like always with Act 4 Publishing. So straight cover A and then cover B. As well, solicited this month was a new book, sort of. It had been up on PRH, but I just hadn't bothered posting it. And that is Circus of Bones, The Art of Mike Mignola. Dive into the unbelievable art of visionary creator Mike Mignola in this one-of-a-kind collection. This is the official hardcover catalog of the upcoming Mike Mignola Gallery show at the Philippe Le Bon Gallery in New York City. This beautifully designed book features 53 brand new watercolor paintings created by Mignola, especially for this exclusive event. Additionally, there will be more than 80 other originals presented in this volume, including a selection of 29 new pencil drawings, as well as several new ink illustrations. The catalog is rounded out by more than 40 published covers and pages. Each image is scanned from the original art. A glorious collection of art for Mike Mignola fans everywhere. This is the second Philippe Le Bon Gallery catalog being produced by Scott Dumbier. I had some comments about the last one. You can read my review. I'm looking forward to this. It's being released on November 4th in comic shops and December 1st through booksellers. It is 8 inches by 12 inches, 144 pages. It's $49.99 US. And pretty exciting. Gotta love Mike Mignola original art. You gotta. All right. Next thing. I had posted about this through the initial solicitation on the 2080 website, and that is the 2080 Art of Dave Gibbons Apex Edition. Again, I don't need to go over that with you. We talked about it last month, but you can always hit up the post and read about that. Is there any new information regarding? No, just some of my predictions. I said it probably would not be available in November. I thought they'd push the date to December, but they are soliciting it for November 25th and November 11th, interestingly. So the catalog shows it as November 11th. Lunar shows it as November 25th. We're still waiting for the other Apex edition, the Charlie's War, which now is slipped into the second week of August. So it's quite late. And I estimated that this would come in at $140 USD for the North American market. It was solicited through the 2008 website at $131.99, I think. So this looks great. Dave Gibbons on Rogue Trooper just looks amazing. Great stuff. Looking forward to this. All right. Was going to do a review during the week, but I did not get a chance because I realized that the next quarter was over. That's April to June. And I had to do my AE format out of print sales Q2 2026. So that was worked on this week, posted on July 29th. Interesting things going on. I'm trying to, basically now this is becoming to be like every book that's currently not available. And like I said, it's cover A's. I'm not doing cover B's. I guess I could be doing cover B's now that Act 4 is in the game with 2 covers every time. But right now, I'm not watching for that stuff. I'm just dealing with older things. All right. Any standouts? Alex Toth's Bravo for Adventure Artist Edition second print, $30. That seems crazy to me. Alien Illustrated Story, the original art edition, continues its upward climb of pricing. 3 copies sold, the average of $249.66. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller Gallery edition. There was like it was cheap. It was $100 or less for months, and then I guess all those extra copies that were purchased out of the Graffiti Designs warehouse when they shut down their main warehouse and moved to smaller storage. Those must all be gone because now we've got an average of $204 for 4 copies sold. What else is a standout? Best of VC Artist Edition Volume 2, $405 for 1 copy. Bill Sienkiewicz's Mutants and Moon Knights and Assassins, 2 copies sold, average of $512.50. No surprise there. That book continues to stay up there. 4 copies of David Mazzucchelli's Daredevil Born Again, Artist Edition first print, averaging $126.36. So that first print there is really bottomed out now that the new printing is available. That book was always high, and now cheap, right? That's really... Fantagraphics Studio Edition Hal Foster's Prince Valiant. 3 copies sold for an average of $358.66. 1 copy of the Jaime Hernandez Studio Edition sold for $469. That book is staying up there, relatively speaking. No Black Hole by Charles Burns sales. Interesting. 1 copy of Gene Colan's Stu of Dracula for $499.95. Oof. 1 copy of Graham Ingles' EC Stories went for $325. Herb Trimpe's The Incredible Hulk, 3 copies sold, average of $75. I mean, I get it. What else is a standout or a surprising price to me? John Paul Leon's The Wintermen Artist Edition, 1 copy sold for $228.55. That is low. I don't know what happened there. That's really low. Judge Dredd by Brian Boland, 1 copy, $57.84. It's coming down a little bit. Scrolling. Mike Mignola's Hellboy and Hell and Other Stories, Artist Edition, first print, 4 copies sold, averaging $253. No copies of the second print. RoboCop vs. Terminator Gallery Edition, 2 copies sold, averaging $282.50. 2 copies of Strength and the Cure Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. first print, averaging $200. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Artisan Edition, 2 copies sold, averaging $75. 1 copy each of the Will Eisner's The Spirit Artist Editions, $199.99. 1 record-setting price this month. And that is The Prisoner Original Art Edition. This book always is so interesting. 1 copy sold, $599.99. Crazy. Sold on June 29th, so right at the end of Q2 there. This book, I guess it's all about the appeal to Prisoner fans, right? It's not the appeal to comic fans. Keeping that price high. Whoa. All right, we got 4 reviews this month, believe it or not. But before I get to that, how to support the site. First way, Patreon, love it. Mostly because I do almost no work for the Patreon patrons. It's really about, I say in the Patreon campaign, it's about saying thank you to me for running the site and doing these things. And it's just, right. So you can pledge $1 a month or €1 a month or anything above that amount. The second way to support the site is to use the links in the reviews. So if you see a link for Amazon, that's an affiliate link for me. I get money from that. If you see an eBay link, that does well for me. That's great. I appreciate it if you click on that. I have an advertiser, Walt's Comic Shop. If you click those links, I charge a fee every month, set fee for advertising monthly on the website and on the newsletter. And also, just generally supporting the site, which is greatly appreciated. Buy something from my store. So aeindex.org/store. Not much there, but what's there? I mean, that's money that I've already bought these books. That money goes right in my pocket. And what does that money from my pocket go to? I actually keep it all separately. This is why everything I do is in USD. And all that USD goes in a separate bank account I have. And that is used for the site. It's used to buy books. That's all I use the money for. It sums it up completely. So what do I have currently on the store? I got a copy of Chris Somney's Black Widow Artist Edition for $100 US. Got Eric Powell's Lagoon Artist Edition for $50. Got Frank Miller's Daredevil Artifact Edition for $100. Got John Romita's Amazing Spider-Man Daily Strips Artist Edition for $50. And I have a copy of Neil Adams' DC Classics Artist Edition cover B for $125. The store is slim pickings right now. It's 5 books. So I'd love it if somebody got on there and bought one of them or 2 of them or all of them. I mean, why limit myself? Just go for it all. And I will have some other things. There are some new books coming out. I got my shipping notification from Skybound that my J. Scott Campbell's Danger Girl books are coming in. I bought extra copies of the signed and numbered slipcase. And I got 1 copy of just the standard artist edition, the Danger Girl. So I'm going to have 2 of the slipcases for sale. I don't know the price yet. When I put the review up, I will have the price figured out. A couple factors that I have to determine. What are they going to hit me up with? Duty, handling fee, tax. They don't call it duty, right? Because there's no duty on books coming into Canada. But there's a handling fee. There's tax. I got to add that into what I paid and the shipping I paid. Ridiculousness coming from the U.S., and then I got to look at currently my market value. What are these books? What are they going to be selling for online? Because I don't want to, I'm really hoping that these extra books I bought are going to fund completely in full my Baltimore trip. I think we talked about that last month, but I'm going to Baltimore Comic-Con at the end of September. Taking my son with me as always. And we're going to meet up with Scott Dunbier. I'm very excited about that. And Amanda Dunbier, of course. And talk shop in that sense, and just really enjoy ourselves on a vacation away from my full-time job, which is comics, and my part-time job, air quotes, which is this site, to go and discuss more comics. Right, so exciting stuff. All right, that's that. I also have what else do I have? I got some other Kickstarters coming. The Steve Biss, the Tyrant. I've got that art edition coming. I've got extra copies. I've got the Den Bloodstar. I'm waiting to get a final price from them from Delirium about that. That's my first European book I'm going to get multiple copies of and try and sell on the site. So we'll see how any of those. So opportunities coming to be on the store to be able to get for me. And as I said before, I think maybe I'm just going to have to list my extras on eBay and see what happens there. Just eBay takes a big cut, right? It's because it's about 20% by the time you're done. So I'd rather not lose 20%. When you buy from the store and I give you a PayPal invoice, that eats 4%. So, anyways, 4 reviews this month. Let's get back to that. First review: DC Work in Progress, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, #1. A look at the stunning Supergirl epic by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Did they really spell Tom King wrong? Hold on, I got to investigate this. No, they didn't. I spelled Tom King wrong. Great. All right, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to give you this blurb. It's too long. So this is the DC Work in Progress, like we've seen before. It's just a folded and stapled 11 by 17 original art from the comic. This with the trade-offs that every one of these has come with so far. So what is the trade-off here? There's been some odd. So they took the cover art and made it a little weird by adding a gray background, which is what they used for the cover of this book, which is okay. They wanted to make it a little different. It can be a little boring when you look at original art. And I don't know when everybody puts these on the newsstands. I mean, in my store, I don't have space for this book anywhere. It's 11 by 17 soft cover. It just falls over. So you got to just try and display it somewhere, and that's kind of tricky. So it doesn't really work. So then we ended up just pre-orders, and maybe we get an extra copy. And we got to put it up behind the counter or against the wall, because then it'll stand, and then maybe it'll sell. So far, the only one we've been able to sell multiple extra copies of was Absolute Batman #1, which makes perfect sense. The hottest comic in the world. All right. So, again, $14.99 US for this book, $19.99 Canadian. You're getting the full first issue, original art. And the beauty of this is because Bill Quisevely, art dealer, Felix Liu, has this entire issue and every issue of this series on his website. The pages have all sold, but the nice thing is he leaves the original artwork up. So great. I can just open his site, and I've included the link to that, and I can compare it to the art that's in this book. And it compares very well. It's a little lighter, I think, than what was from the scans. And then, like I said, they did something to the cover, but then instead of including the original cover art in the book, they decided to include the same manipulated cover art as the cover in amongst the original art. I know that's not making any sense, and as it comes out of my mouth, I realize how bad that sounds. But, anyways, check the review, check it out. I love Bill Quisevely's art. I would love to see an artist edition from her. It's gorgeous. I really want to see more of what she has, and that is really these work in progresses are giving us something, first off, that there's no artist edition of, and it's a nice taste of something. Now, like last month, we had some new solicitations for these Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. So yes, we have a Dark Knight Returns gallery edition. I'm interested to see if they end up with more pages than what Graffiti Designs was able to come up with, and we know that that Watchmen #1 is going to be a train wreck and not original art because it's just not available. But you know what? We'll take it in stride, and we'll see when it comes out. All right, next review. George Perez's The New Teen Titans Artist Edition. This is probably the most anticipated book that came out in July. I'm not going to give you the blurb. I feel like I'm in too deep here. I'm cutting blurbs this month. This was released on July 1st, Act 4 by Image. It's 12 by 17 inches, 192 pages. It's $150 US. It's got a fold out, gorgeous. And it is a great looking book. So this had cover A, B, and then there was a signed numbered limited edition available through the Act 4 publishing website. A little bit different, which is interesting here, is the design by Shaban Krasescu. Instead of what we're normally seeing, which is cover colors moving through the book, the cover colors really have nothing to do with the interior, which was an interesting takeaway. Thought this was an interesting spin. And then the interior color, sort of a gray-green. I don't know what the color is. My pictures didn't capture it very well in the review, which I actually mentioned. I was disappointed with that. But it's a very muted color. It really... I like to see something a little bit bright in these because, we just got black and white art. Okay. And like I said, I was getting around to the table of contents. Is interesting because it lists the table of contents. So we got where the work appeared. We don't have anything, no complete stories in this book. It's just lots of pages all over the place. And then what's interesting is that there's opposite the table of contents is a credits page, which we have not seen before. And then it breaks it down by who inked what. So they break it down by inker as opposed to previously where we see in the table of contents, then we'd see the inker's name with the different art. So it's a different approach to it. It's interesting. And then we get into the book. There's so much great George Perez art in here. And yes, some complete issues would have been amazing. I love complete issues. But we've got a real sampling, a real taste of Perez on New Teen Titans here. Just covering just that range of his work. And there's just some really outstanding pages here. Just so nice. Sometimes it's easy to forget, different pages here or there, how great or how influential or how just productive an artist was. He just got the work done every month, right? Some really, really nice pages here. And the fold-out's great. It's a 2-page spread and then the poster on the other side. The poster was colored. I don't really like, there was that period of original art where a lot of the art was colored. People would get colorists to color original art and then to present it a different way. I don't really like the way it looks. But these are interesting. These are interesting pieces. And it's a nice look. And it's interesting as I try and get words out of my mouth this month. I don't know why I'm struggling so much. Probably because I shouldn't be recording at night. I normally record in the day or maybe the afternoon, but circumstances piled up in my life today. So as I record this on Saturday, August 1st, it's kind of late for me. So what can you do? Really been debating lately what makes a great artist edition. And I'm going to follow me down this rabbit hole a bit because our next review is ElfQuest Hidden Years Gallery Edition. And it's a fully painted AE format book. And then the first book I reviewed in August is also a fully painted artist edition, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. And what is that then, right? Yes, it represents the artist's page because it's a scan or what I believe a photograph of Beneath the Trees. But does that make it a great artist edition or a great AE format book? And what I've come to determine for myself is what makes an outstanding AE format book is to see the production on the page. And I can, if I have to pick just a line of books that really does that well, I have to say it's material from older stuff. So then I would go back to the Dupuis Artistes Editions, right? Because it's 60s stuff. These guys are just working on the page. You see corrections, you see pencils, you see just very much work, dirt. You see it all on the page. These were handled. These were objects where that art was created on for print, right? And they looked very different than what was actually the clean, finished, printed page. And it's got a real feel of something, right, that happened. And that's when I look at these pages of George Perez's art. It's got that same feel to it. You look at it and you say, yes, these are pages of original art. All right, let's move on to the next review, ElfQuest Hidden Years Gallery Edition. Released July 14th. Again, no blurb. 12 by 17, 168 pages. It was $150 USD, $149.99. Dark Horse has always been a little bit cheaper than everybody else. Now this is right up there in line. And this is a very interesting book because we've got a great introduction by Richard Pinney where he talks about Wendy's process, how she was able to produce this colored artwork. It's a real blend of mediums and just really well done. And when you look at these pages, they are bright and they are beautiful, and you can really see where she's used marker and other things. And the pages are vivid and gorgeous. And then I compared them to the ElfQuest Gallery Edition. I compared this ElfQuest Hidden Years Gallery Edition to the published printed work. And all these beautiful colors that Wendy Pinney was able to produce really came through on the printed page. So then I'm looking at these pages from the Gallery Edition. I'm looking at the printed final published work, and they look the same. Except now I've paid $150 and it's bigger. That's all I've gotten out of this is bigger pages with no lettering. Now it looks like, so when Wendy went to finish these pages, there was some tape put on to create the panels. So we do see some production on the page. We see where some colors have been tested on the edges, and we see a few pencil notes, and we see how the tape has been applied to the page to create the panels. But is that enough to make it a worthwhile AE format book? And when I compare the two, and I say, I've said previously that, color doesn't really work. Colored or painted pages don't really work in an AE format book. And why? And then I've had to really think about that. Why is that? Why? And that is because, right? How much different does it look than the printed page? If it doesn't look any different, then why did I get this book? So that's my issue with that. I really appreciate, though, this packaging of this complete, let me see what, I think it's issues 1 to 5, right? Yes, 5. Each a standalone story, each taking place in the ElfQuest world, universe, and covering a different thing, and lots of different characters. And like I said, it presents so well. And Dark Horse, of course, was the first publisher to establish a standardized format. So the cover, the border looks the same. The interior pages have a certain look. Everything follows the same template. And I've appreciated the template, and I've appreciated that that's what they've gone for. But I'm not sure it actually works with this painted work because of how the reproductions or the blow-ups or the enlargements are done, how the pages are divided, how it looks. And its other interesting thing is, what if somebody made an AE format book and nobody was interested? After a month, this review of ElfQuest's Hidden Years Gallery Edition has the lowest hits I've ever had on a review. I am shocked at how little interest this review has garnered. And like most AE format books, I'm the only one who's reviewed this. So if you're on the internet looking for a review of this book, I'm the only one out there. When I look at YouTube videos, I'm the only one with a full flip through, or actually just a full look. This really seems to have slipped under the radar, and maybe there's a good reason for that, because its time has maybe come and gone. I'm not quite sure how Dark Horse chooses their books, or how they choose what is going to become a gallery edition. There's such long periods between gallery editions now. And why was this chosen? I feel like there were so many other ways Dark Horse could have gone, but maybe we'll see that in the future. All right. Last review of the month. That is John Dixon's Complete Airhawk Dailies, Volume 6. And I'm not going to give you the blurb, but I'm going to give you a portion of it because you have no idea what I'm talking about when I talk about this book. So I will say this hardback volume contains 5 complete adventures from 1970 to late 71 and runs to 162 pages. An introduction by Australian actor-writer William McInnes and a detailed interview with John Dixon, conducted while he was live, rounds out the volume. The book ought to be on the shelves of every Australian library and the home of every serious comic historian. Australia's finest adventure strip. Don't believe me? You will once you see the quality of this production. So this book had a print run of 300 copies. It was released by Comic Oz. It came out in May 2026. This was a Kickstarter. I don't even remember how I came across this Kickstarter, but it combines the two things I really still enjoy of comics, and that is AE format books or scans original art and newspaper strips. I think newspaper strips are just an underserved original art segment that needs more artist editions or AE format books. So at the time, I had paid 70 Australian dollars for this and then shipping. So I think I paid 50 US and 20, let me see, I put it in my review, and 28 US shipping. Yeah, so not too bad. The book was delayed quite a few times. The designer had health issues. So by the time I actually got this, it wasn't too bad. May 2026. So I sat on it a little bit, but eventually got the review going. It's 166 pages, as previously said. It's 11.4 inches by 10.2 inches. It is available now from the Comic Oz website for 99 Australian dollars. It's about 70 US. That's for shipping in Australia. You have to contact them for shipping outside Australia. I don't know what they charge or how that works now that they're outside of Kickstarter. Hopefully it's the same. This is an awesome book. I had never heard of John Dixon before this campaign. I'd never seen Airhawk, and Dixon apparently did a Sunday and a dailies. And I did have a chance. I had asked some questions in this review, and Nat Carmichael, who is the editor, the guy who put all this whole thing together, he actually responded to my questions in an email, which is appreciated. And I'm going to post that as an industry Q&A probably tomorrow. So look for that if you've not looked at this review, read the review, and then come back and check out the industry Q&A to see what his responses were. So great book. Dust Jacket. I hate dust jackets, but this is a full color. They got a new cover painted for this, which is pretty great. Not by John Dixon, because John Dixon's dead. But I forget who did the cover. I'm going to gloss over that right now. And if you lift off the dust jacket, there's the original art underneath. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, then we have an interview, like I said, and then we get into the dailies. And they're presented. They're not original size. They're not full size, right? They are reduced. Dixon seemed to work as he would have a sheet of paper, and he would do 3 dailies on a sheet. So that was sort of his technique. And the dailies that are presented in here are about 25 by 32 centimeters. And the originals I found online were about 42 by 51 centimeters. So that's quite a reduction. But they present very well here. It's really feel like Dixon was doing the dry brush technique, maybe. I'm not an artist. I hate to throw terms around, but it's really got a real Rip Kirby, Raymond feel to it. The way the brush is applied. It's a great looking strip, and the art is really well presented. They're like most newspaper strips. Dixon had some ghost illustrators, and the one who did the most work in here is Keith Chatto. He did a portion of the strips. We got 5 stories, and he worked on 3 of these stories, and he somewhere between 20 and 35% of the stories he did on those. So that's pretty great, and he does a good job of mimicking John Dixon, and they're really nice looking strips. As I said, it's a fun read. It's classic 70s action adventure. Who doesn't love an adventure strip? I love adventure strips. That's how I actually got into newspaper strips. I'm not big on humor strips, but adventure strips are awesome. I like the format. It's because Carmichael has approached this as a newspaper strip collection, just using the original art scan. So he's taking the best of both worlds. So he's got the name of the story runs along the top of every page, and he's got he's got an introduction. He's got a little intro before every story, and he's got some notes about the story at the end of every story. And it's just a great presentation overall. This is volume 6. He felt like this was the pinnacle of Dixon's artwork and seemed like a great place to start. Why not? I mean, you don't really need to know much about the story other than just get into it, right? So there was no reason you didn't need to start with volume 1. So he started with this. His goal is to produce 16 volumes of this. I don't know how long I'm in for this. It depends what the schedule is. 1 or 2 a year, maybe I can hang in there. Really depends on how are they all going to be Kickstarter? Are they going to be available? Am I going to have that? Are there going to be introductory pricing? We'll see. So I will be watching that, and I will be posting solicitations for that. So just got to keep your eyes open. All right. That's it for this month. Thanks for joining me. As I sort of rambled through this, I apologize for the pregnant pauses and the randomness of some of my comments. But let's talk again next month.
Let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she can search this wide world over. She'll never find a sweet man like me.